Hello, everybody. I hope you all are having a beautiful day. Um, there's a couple of things I've been noticing, but it will probably end up with me talking about financial institutions and financial matrices. Now, when I say financial matrix, I'm not talking about like anything spectacular or computer like or any of that other stuff dealing with philosophy and the soul. I'm specifically talking about the institution that's been created by current civilization and our forefathers, leading to a ring of stupidity. But before I do that, did you know that Egypt transliterated is EGTP? But did you know even further, the full word is Ye GTP with each letter? I was listening to Ford talk on Ford's Playground, and while the idea was a precursor to come up with what I'm about to say, it was mentioned. There is no such thing as doing things in the future. I am only able to do anything now. I am not able to do anything tomorrow or the next day or the next day or the next day. Just like the past isn't real. And when I say that, it may be a part of reality to measure and map things like the number zero, but who I am, can only ever do anything now. So if I say I'm going to do something tomorrow, I just lied. Because tomorrow, the concept of is always the next day. Then in the past, if I say I did something a week ago, no, I didn't. Because when I did it, it was now. Like the number zero. It isn't existing. You can't have nothing of something. I'm going to give you another strange concept. The idea of darkness becoming a greater darkness. If you have something that is in total darkness, that something will give off a form of energy in some way, shape, or form. If I'm in a darker room with a flashlight in my hand, I may be able to see something very specific where the light is going, but the rest of the room I'm blinded to, almost. If I turn off that light, that blindness, now I may be possibly able to see in that darkness because of how the eyes work and how energy that is intaked within the eyes work. I'll give you an example. Now, if I am in a room and it feels like it's dark and I can hardly see anything, if I go into a bright room like how I just talked about, and then go back into that dark room, you will still be able to see the lights, flashing lights like blotches, because the energy from the receptors that were just hit are still energized and haven't absorbed all the energy yet. So, if I'm in complete darkness and something else comes towards me that isn't a still object or stable, maybe another life, when I'm approached by that life, what you guys fail to realize is I can sense that life possibly before seeing it. Now, whether it be because I hear them, smell, or because I simply feel the energy. You ever oftentimes notice people say they get a weird chill or a weird feeling? If energy cannot be destroyed and it can only be recreated, sound waves. Who knows how many times a sound wave could be bouncing off the walls until it completely dissipates? You may be sitting somewhere and get a feeling. I've talked before, go sit in a room and just listen. You won't hear certain things. But if you turn on a video recording device and then replay back that video recording device, you'll hear everything that you couldn't hear before. Because you can hear them, but it's not important enough for the actual perception to pick up on it, if that makes sense. Because if it were, I wouldn't be able to pay attention to what's important and will receive a lot of static and background noise. Different things I want to talk. I like talking about. Sometimes time I talk about that it's a construct, but I've said this before in my videos. You can't see actually in 3D. It's a perception that is calculated in the brain. you can only ever see in 2D, ever, no matter what you do. The brain picks up on that higher dimension, if that makes sense. So now I want to get to the concepts of um, reality and financial institutions. You'll hear me saying real, and then you'll hear me saying reality. What's real? Food, crops, land, buildings, machinery, technology, stones, molded, remolded, electricity, elements, harvesting elements and matter with tools that are able to do such things, having the financial capability and or resources to get to that point to be able to have tools or build tools. Money isn't real. Money is paper from another source that's molded into a pretty little construct, a piece of paper. That piece of paper is then distributed and put within a system. We'll say the American dollar. If I had $100 million in a room, I would probably die. But if I have food, air, water, a place to use the bathroom, those things are real. And so what I'm saying is that what people are doing with these financial institutions and civilizations, they're taking silly things like money and constructs and credits and different things, and they're making them more important reality than what's real. So a man will go and hoard millions and billions of dollars. Cool. It's real because he can use that money in a system to where he can get whatever he wants. The reason it's not real is because ultimately it's still a part of that system. If there was no money, he would still have to go get food and survive. But if there wasn't no food or any of that stuff, the money would be irrelevant. So what I'm saying is, you guys will say, why can't we have Atlantis? And why can't we have utopias and different stuff like this? For a couple of reasons, but two main reasons are religion and money. Religion, no matter how real people want it to be, it's only real to the wielder. It's a subjective construct. I'm not talking about anything that's in the real. If a person hears a voice and deems that to be God, that's real. When I say voice, the voice of reason, you thinking whatever. But if somebody else comes up to me and says, God's talking to us, they just lied, because some people don't communicate with themselves like others. So it was real, but it wasn't real. Does that make sense? Just like a dollar. Just like this. Disclaimer, I don't advocate for cigarettes. They're dangerous. And they can be dangerous. That box isn't real. The cigarettes inside aren't real. And yet they are. They're real in the sense that I smoke them to calm my nerves. But at the same time, they're destructive and dangerous. And a part of the human construct, I really don't need them. And so it's a concept I dwell in for my personal liking. But what do I really need? Food, water, shelter. The reason I say shelter is because I am not a part of an instinctual civilization that still lives in the wilderness. Speaking of, apes can make rafts and beds. If you don't believe me, go do some research. Apes can sail over waters. Animal apes. Humans are apes with higher levels of self-awareness and intellect, and the ability to manipulate matter and do other various sorts of things using technology and respecting space-time. So I just wanted to dabble a little bit into the financials of things, because what makes me mad about civilization is, I'll give you an example. I'm not just going to say the ups and not give the downs. That same person, Ford, who I like listening to. Well, the thing is, Ford was saying the ego, something about the ego and how it gets in the way, and some other things. This is what I try to get people to understand. The ego, the soul, the spirit, you guys keep talking about becoming one with the source and the most high to get. That is the ego. Okay, so you guys see me, African American male, brown hair, all this. That's the total. The inside is the ego. So, what am I saying? People be like, you need to get rid of ego. You need to get rid of self. You need to get rid of all the stuff. Dude, you can do whatever you want in life. But that's why we are all so destroyed and weak, because we're listening to different people, philosophers, spiritual. You guys can say you're not Christians, not philosophers, whatever you want, you are. Anything that you are using, that's what philosophy is. You're thinking, you're thinking, you're thinking. Psychology, thinking, the inner workings of the mind. So, the reason I say disclaimers on all my videos is because the stuff I talk about, like how we can only see 2D, and what I've said about gravity being electromagnetic forces working on each other, and a whole bunch, because I give disclaimers. Because with my level of intelligence, there are many things that influence. That's why, okay, why I say truth is subjective and you need to be careful, and why I say we learn constantly. I could say, I know everything about science, and I know this, but I don't. Because what we will always do is go further and further into a fractal of an idea or something and perfect it, refine it. So, I noticed something lately. Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse. Bill, Neil. It's like funny. So, I don't know exactly what's going on in terms of, because the reason you guys will probably hear me talking in this different stuff. You'll be like, you're awake, you're this, you're that. Why are you talking to people? Why aren't you doing this and that? Because when I say I'm awake, I've said this before, that is a metaphor for saying I was living. Okay, people say God ordained everything since the beginning of time and everything's preordained. Okay, think about what I'm saying. If everything is preordained, you're a bot. If everything is not preordained and you have free will, then you're man. You're the creator. You're the universe itself. Understand what I just said. Awareness. If I, as a child and as I got older, I wasn't aware of certain things. When I was a 10-year-old, I do certain things. And then when I'm like 11, 12, 13, I'm thinking back when I was a 10-year-old, why did I do that? Why did I do this? I'm more mature now. Would I still do the same things? That's self-awareness based on the things I did before. So, you see how I said when I was 10, not in the past. Or maybe I did say in the past. But what I'm trying to get you guys to understand, as much as I say tomorrow and yesterday isn't real and all those other things, yet they are. I understand the difference between a philosophical concept and what's real. I can never go in the future or the past. There's only right here now. But what I'm saying is I understand what the future and the past mean. And so I'm not saying that to say, oh, we're forever in the same spot and time and all that. The same people that are saying all this about the ego and how we're a part of a dream and we need to separate and all that, that's what kills the spirit and the flesh. I'm telling you it is. When you're one with your ego, you can control your ego. But if my ego is all the way over there somewhere running a nut and I'm clouded with food, I'll give you an example. The difference between self-awareness and fear. If I'm afraid of something, I could be led to not have that thing happen. And so when dealing with certain spiritual things, if I'm riddled with fear, I think I'm doing right, but in actuality, I'm just afraid and trying not to be harmed or punished. But if I don't have that same fear and I'm fearless, I'm doing based on what I believe is right and who I am's heart. But at the same time, a balance. If I don't fear anything at all, I forsake my instincts. If I forsake my instincts, what's the difference between ego and instincts? What's the difference between a cat seeing something flying towards it and it runs? But they don't know what we know. But then I see something flying towards me and I run. That's the ego. Because whether you're saying you're the one that's consciously aware of the ego, or you're just a bot animal NPC that's going off of instructions from the brain, that's all still the ego. I'm telling you it is. Without ego, the body dies. Because when I say ego, I'm not talking about narcissism and being an oppressor and all this other violent stuff. I'm talking about the will, the ego, to do healthy, responsible, non-harming things. Why would a pope or a man And even to my other friend, he said, I don't like mentioning you because I don't want negativity to happen to you based on what happened to me. Brother, have you not been listening to what I've been saying in my videos? They fired me from my job. All these other nursing homes and stuff are connected. A couple of the companies are all like, you know what a corporation is when a big corporate owns a bunch of different stuff. So if a big couple of corporates own all these nursing homes in this town, the hospitals already try to do a number on me. I'm telling you guys, I'm excommunicated. You don't have to fear hurting me. I'm doing my hardest to try to build a name, but it's already oh, you guys, like, when I was born, I had troubles. When I was growing up, I had troubles. It's not just because of what's happening now. It seems like all my life I've been stomped on. But that's why I am strong. You guys will hear me say, oh, I lost my job and my cars broke down. If you watch my videos, I've been on the streets in my 20s. I had to go to community college on my own getting grants. I didn't have millions of dollars and all this other stuff. And the little money that my parents did have trying to afford mortgages and bills all went to that and kept us alive with food and stuff. I can't be like, oh, I had $200,000 in my parents' basement to go do something with Silicon Valley. I'll give you an example. You guys are hearing all these rich contractors and different people. Why does one contractor need $5,000 to fix a car and another one could do it for $1,500? It's because their opinions. When the opinions of people who own everything are way up here, then the poor get stomped on. Somebody like me, from the experience I'm from, do you know what I could do with? You guys tell me 500 billion from CEO. Do you know what I could do with 500 billion? First of all, I hear y'all talk about a food drive or something. I hear people talk about a charity, and they'll be like, "Oh, 10 million was pumped into this charity," and then I'll do research on it. But this house is $25,000. But y'all get 500 billion and barely could build a building or a community center or a single city. Y'all are liars. You're fucking lining everybody's pockets that you can to keep this bullshit going, because you can't tell me it costs $1 to send rice to North Korea and blah blah blah. But then here y'all can't feed people. They're starving people everywhere. Y'all can't take the same hundreds of billions of dollars sent for war. Y'all can't feed everybody in America. Then what they'll do is they'll make these corporations to where I heard somebody say one time, you're not taking into consideration they have to ship it, they have to manufacture it, process it, do this, all these things they're saying. Okay, so if money would have never inflated, it wouldn't be a problem. Who controls the cost of living? The government. Who controls the prices of everything? The corporations. Who controls the laws? The Senate and the CEOs that lobby for the Senate. Who do you think pays for all these millions of dollars of campaigns, millions of dollars of senator runs, and all these campaign contributions? The corporations and rich. I'll hear McDonald's be like, we had to raise our prices to blah, blah, blah. Wendy's and Burger King. Wendy's been pretty legit, but that Baconator getting a little out of hand. Burger King and all that. We had to raise price. Okay, so 200 years ago, a cow cost a certain amount, or a cow was whatever. 200 years later, it's a totally different price. 100 years ago, you could get a cheeseburger, a pack of cigarettes, some gas, and all sorts of stuff for 25 cents. Now, for $100, you could barely get all that. The people who are working aren't controlling the prices, and we're still slaving and working, so it's not our fault. We've still been spending everything because what does everybody say? All the black community does is spend, spend, spend. Then when I see on commercials, spend locally, spend, spend, spend. I don't. So, you guys see me doing this a lot. In the African American community, this is muff. And when you do it below the waist, you can actually carry out the muff. I'm not telling that to tell people to start muffing each other. I'm saying some people will do stuff like this and call it holy from a certain person and not even know where it comes from. It's funny. It's hilarious. So I like transliterating things. I've been learning a lot about the human verse, metaverse, corporations, and how Meta has moved to the UK and Australia and a lot of the other different places. Told you all, Han and Sophia. I used to play Order and Chaos with the Asha and a Han. Asha OAC. And then when I was researching the human verse, Mark Zuckerberg said a while back he couldn't maintain trying to create the metaverse because it was too expensive, paying billions. He spent $40 billion trying to pay engineers, programmers, and all these other people. Then when they gave the stick over to AI, it was damn near free. and a whole beautiful bunch of worlds were created. Where was all these worlds and metaverses 20 years ago? Y2K and all this stuff. Things are revealed over time for shock value or for the lack thereof. Because do you know they will tell people that you could do the medical science on this if you want. If they get rid of daylight savings, a bunch of people supposedly, according to the news, this is not from me, I'm giving statistics. They said, according to the news, a bunch of people, if they got rid of daylight savings, would have strokes, heart attacks, and a whole bunch of other stuff would happen. Fear mongering. So you're telling me from switching things from out, and then they said a whole bunch of car accidents will occur. You guys are programming people through the news for this shit to happen. Because you changed daylight saving by an hour, heart attacks and car accidents. What's the fucking correlation? It gets darker sooner. People drive at nights. That doesn't make sense. You guys are just saying dumb shit on the news. Well, the body can't adjust to an hour's worth of... But then people can go into space and live in freezing cold environments. You're all a bunch of fucking liars. And you're not telling the truth. Then you'll get millions of people to believe the moon landing is real, when in actuality they were doing brain surgeries in ancient fucking Egypt. All these brilliant astrologers from... I witnessed people in a new... I went to God Logic 2.0, 1.02, and listened to their stream. Then people don't know nothing about how the fucking people from Persia and the Aramaic Empire dwindled into creating... They talk about Pythagoras, but the Persians came first. It pisses me off. Because I listen to people say, oh, the Greeks and Pythagoras, no, them taught the Persians method. No, they didn't. The Persians came first. What are y'all talking about? They had mathematics, arithmetic, all this stuff. Then before that, thousands and thousands of years ago, I keep hearing people tell people these religious stories are based on stars from constellations and stuff and legends. Even the Asians will admit this. Go research the 12 palaces and the Self Palace. The Egyptians had magnifying... They had telescopes and lenses and stuff. They knew how to turn sand into glass. How do you think you make glass? Out of sand. So I'm just trying to educate people to the best of my ability and catch them up to speed and give people quirky little... Just like, there's a possibility that we all see different colors. Color is based on the perception of the mind, based on how you pick up wavelengths. I have a video talking about this too called What Color is God? What color am I? Based on my perception, brown, but they're still waiting for the blondie, the bluey. But no, I'm learning a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have been able to learn before in religion. And even when I say that, after religion, I learned psychology, sociology, statistics, numbers, college level math and beyond, biology, chemistry, all types of stuff. Community college ain't Harvard, but what my mind is able to conjure, some people wish for. That's something else I'm noticing. All human beings have the capability of being geniuses, but a group of set elitist people want their cultures and civilizations to be the greatest. Because even those Persians won't admit that all their mathematics they learn, they'll keep saying, I think they said, one of them said the Europeans created math or numbers, and then another one said the Persians created all science. And I was like, you're all just racist. The whole stream, it's supposed to be a stream about Jesus and God. You Abduls don't know nothing. You Muhammads are dumb. You're a bunch of it's like, y'all are calling Arab people and Middle Eastern people names. That's racism. But then if you go say anything about Jesus, they'll lose their minds. And the funny thing is they keep saying, you all are apologetics. Then you go point out a scripture or something of detriment and they will apologize the fuck out of that scripture and go in circles for hours. Because they don't want the knowledge of the scripture known. They want to argue with you and win. That's what it's about. So I'm appreciative of many people, you know what I'm saying? I'm appreciative of everybody. Anybody that gives me shouts out, you guys keep thinking you could hurt me with language or number, what concepts? What are you gonna do? Hurt my feelings? When I was a child, I had Tourette's syndrome and made funny noises. You know what's super fucking funny? One day, I was telling somebody Jesus means gracious pig because Yehovah, Yehanan, means I am gracious, or Yehohanan means I am gracious. Shua is salvation. So Yeshua is I am gracious salvation. It's a transliteration of words in a different language. So one day I was explaining to people, I was like, sus is Latin for pig, sus is Latin for pig. The Germans and the English were fighting with the Pope, and they turned Yehovah, Yehanan, and Yesuit, which is I am gracious, and I am who I am, or Yahweh. They basically are transliterating it to now mean I am a gracious pig. And I tell people this, and they're like, so at first, I was talking to these people in God logic, and then I kept saying, what does sus mean in Latin? Because I know if I say it, they're going to disagree with me. So people kept asking me, what's it mean? What's it mean? I said, no, you Google it. Tell me what it means. So I had them Google it so they couldn't argue me. A couple of them, 2 or 3 of them came back and said, sus is Latin for pig. And I was like, told you, you're saying I'm a gracious pig. Then what is the next thing they say? Jesus said, any who changes the word of the law and da-da-da-da, and if that's what you want to believe. I said, if that's what I want to believe, you're the one that told me what it meant because I told you to go look it up. People are in super fucking denial, hard cognitive dissonance. And I think it's because of fear, the same fear I was talking about a little earlier. Some people are just miserable and angry. I love my girlfriend to death, but she's pushing me to fucking wrath. I took care of this woman just like my baby mama for years and years and years. Paid for a lot of shit, did a lot of shit. I'm not going to put her business out there, but it was a bad situation when I first showed up. Now steady home, 2 cars, beautiful job, everything's fine. I lose my job and get talked to like a fucking child. Not only that, even in everyday conversation. Sweet, kind, loving. You don't love me. Blah, 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 blah. You this and that. Blah, blah, blah. I try to leave. Psychotic panic attack. I stay. Abuse. It's good for a long time. Then it's blah, 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 blah. So what does that mean? People say all the time, find a new person. Fine. Fuck all that. If this don't work out or whatever's going on with this ball of anger, because that's what people will do. They'll have a miserable life. Then when you come in trying to be sweet and fucking kind, after having 2 ex-husbands that'll beat the fucking shit out of somebody, then when you be a sweetheart, the wall is already up and now they want to be a fucking psycho. But then when you try to leave the situation, no, I can't leave. You're just gonna break. So what I'm telling you is some people are married. This is why I don't get married. And they have to deal with this until they have to either destroy their own lives and get, and then people, you got divorced, you didn't work it out, you're the Lord God. What the fuck ever. You're all just a bunch of concepts, and what I am and what I want to be will be. But that's how you have to treat people sometimes. So back to the whole gracious pig bullshit. One time I was telling people, Jesus means I am a great, and I told you, if you've watched my videos, I told you it's a strange journey. I seen a chart recently talking about how Job was the greatest or was the first prophet, but not in terms of actually being the first prophet. They said it symbolized something for a greater prophecy. And I made a video a month or 2 months ago saying that Job is the actual man in this book that represents the spirit or whatever is going on, because he lost his entire family, the 7 sons and the 3 daughters, all symbolic, 10 commandments total. How darkness had to become a part of the good, gave my power and authority to the beast 4 times because a whole bunch of psycho pagans was run out here. Then all of a sudden, people are going around talking about Job was the first prophet. I thought that was weird. So then, I basically said that to say I've been talking about John the Baptist, Job, Yehovah, which is JB, because J, Y, and high V were both changed to J and B during English and German. So JB is YV. Jehovah, JB, or Jehovah, Yahweh, Yehohanan, Joshua, or which is Yeshua. You know what I'm saying? I say all these names transliterate back to my name and give examples of what's going on. What people do, they will take what I tell to the world, completely forsake me. If y'all think I'm playing, watch my videos and then look what a lot of these YouTubers. I caught the Hodge twins in real time, and somebody changed all of their somebody changed all of their description messages and took a lot of it out. And then on the Conservative Twins page, a year worth of videos was removed in the live and videos. And then on the other page, all the community tabs were taken out. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but I will not let racism, hatred, misogyny, anti-women, anti-anything. We're all a part of the creation. We're all humans. We're all man, whatever the fuck you claim to be. And we all have the capability of being great in our own way. Diverse singularity. Because who the fuck wants to singular? Okay. Oh, back to the gracious pig thing. I was saying gracious pig, and I told you I have Tourette's. So I was like, ugh. And I thought to myself, I am who I am. I keep saying I am the anointed one and all that. And I forgot about all those grunts and pig noises I made all my life. Then I look up at what JPEth is supposed to be. J plus Opeth. Do you know what Opeth means? They are clowning the fuck out of me. I am truly like a sacrificial lamb. Everything that I go back to research about my culture, civilization, or anything is being utterly fucking destroyed. They're calling who I am a gracious fucking pig. Some people can't decipher the difference between spirit and flesh. So when I say things like I am and go into different parts of history and speak on behalf of others, they get totally fucking confused. They use words like schizo and all this other dumb fucking shit because they don't understand the concept after preaching to the world that people who don't lift up the word and the spirit, the same Jesus that they're calling a gracious pig over and fucking over, but they're pagans and worshiping a pagan god, so they don't understand. I can speak from the perspective of 500 BC from one of the prophets and always say I am in their words, and it's like they're alive again. But people don't understand what the fuck that means. Then I tell people the true nature of psychology and the word of spirit. I could give you information, some scary information. A man told me something one time that I'm not going to repeat on this camera. But every time around that time of year, it had me tweaking like, and then I realized, I was like, oh, fuck the word and the spirit. It's the knowledge of something that then continually reminds me of the something if it's detrimental. The same fear I was talking about. So, I just like talking about a lot of concepts and mathematics and science and different stuff like that. But even I like talk about religion and other things too. Because if I was to come up to somebody and talk to them about religion and Christianity and all this other stuff for an hour, it'd probably be the best conversation I ever had. But when people come up to me wanting to debate, argue, fight, you're this, you're that, Jesus is the, that's not, I don't like debates. Because to me, a debate just means you're arguing. I'd rather learn with you, dude. I'd rather know what you know, and I can teach you what I know. I'll see people saying, oh, this debate versus that, and Muslim versus Christian. Y'all are a bunch of fucking idiots. What are you debating? Because when you go into the debate, your mindset is to win. So you're not gathering any new information. You're just making asses of each other for the general dumbassery public. But at the same time, I never know who is tethered and who actually might feel the heat from something. So I am sorry for Brother Books for the shout outs if they cause harm. But at the same time, if they don't and they help you, I'm happy. Because I didn't think about that, man. The hole that they're trying to put me in, metaphorically speaking, because what, as I've said before, may leach onto others if I'm not careful. I may give spiritual help and save somebody's soul in terms of psychology, but I still, sometimes people still have 9 to 5s and other things. So not everybody wants to be put on a spiritual cross. Let me be the example. Let me be the one that takes the pain so you can know on the inside and learn what happens. Because after what they did to me in terms of character, yeah, as I've told you all before, I am who I am. I am that which is. I am that which sends who I am. Everybody that asks me, I love my mom to death, but she does it because she's not asking in terms of who taught me something. She's asking because she's in medical healthcare. She's asking me in terms of like these psychologists do. Who's telling you this? Who's giving you this information? Who are you talking to? What? Anybody that asks me who sends me, who is talking to me, who is teaching me, you don't understand how fucking confusing that question is. Who teaches any fucking body but their own goddamn self? So if I'm giving somebody information and they come up to me and says, who manifests you? Who is it that sends you? What the fuck are you? When you're hungry, who the fuck gets their dumb fucking ass up to eat a sandwich? People are becoming, they'll create religion. Then when you follow the religion, they'll create psychology and call you schizo. But those same psychologists all see therapists and are religious. But only religious enough to not be called the same thing they're labeling other people with. but are still terrified because they don't understand the universe, they don't understand their purpose, or what's the point of any of this. So, as I told y'all before, psychology helped me. I've never really gotten to financial institutions. I mean, I know about the institution of financial. I've taken a couple of business classes in high school, and I don't even remember if I took one in college. That's how little I care about it. Because to me, money isn't real in a sense that we're basically creating a system where we need something that's not real in order for us to need something that's real. So people look at me and be like, then what's psychology and philosophy and religion? I could go 100 days without money and be fine if I needed to get everything else I needed. But you go 100 days without psychology, religion, philosophy, or science, and let me know what the fuck you cling to. I don't need to hold $100 in my hand to live, but I might need to hold psychology in my hand to live. I might need to hold parts of that Bible in my hand to live. Am I a psychologist? Am I a fucking evangelist? You guys are giving the concepts more power than the user. So, these financial institutions are going to destroy. Okay, so the rich and the elite will do things like, I hear like, I don't really want to call it conspiracies because they have a whole space station. They've been to other planets. They're trying to terraform Mars as we speak. So you guys want to keep arguing whether we've been to the moon or not. Do you? But like, that's what I'm saying. I tell people, I'm not here to argue certain things. I don't like debating because the only thing I'm going to do in a debate is hurt somebody's feelings or get mine hurt. Do I want to hurt people's feelings? So what's the difference in debating? But I can have a friendly debate. But I'm telling you, if I'm debating somebody, I'm not going to viciously, oh, I win. It might even seem like I'm learning from you in a debate because I'm not trying to destroy people. Certain debates or panels, if people get to talking too loud or talking too much or fighting each other, I'll be quiet the whole time or mute myself or I won't even continue. Because nobody's learning from that. I'm hearing blah, 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 and I'm not going to go into a room and listen to static for 4 hours. So while I listen to humans babble for hours, nothing is accomplished or achieved by it. So entertainment is fun. I love joking and hee hee ha ha and playing and having a good time. But if something is fucking pointless, fruitless, and going down a rabbit hole of fighting us versus them and accusing people, it's not going to be a part of who I am. Because if I allow that to be a part of who I am, then what's going to happen? I'll give you an example. Pain, hardships, not always feeling the way you're going to feel, not always being strong the way you want to be. Those things are natural. When I say natural, they're natural because if you go fucking touch some fire, it's going to hurt. Ouch, pain, right? That's pain. Because of that pain, I know not to melt myself. But at the same time, people who go and teach pain, oh, pain is a part of learning. Oh, pain is philosophy. Pain, pain, pain. The devil is everywhere and it's all a matrix and it's all pain, pain, pain. Pain, 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 destruction, pain. Nobody else is relevant. They're all narcissists, pain, pain, pain. So I know those things exist, but when I teach it, not only does that stuff exist, now I'm creating shadow workers to fight that shit whenever they find it, and they might label something natural as narcissism and destroy a whole bunch of people. I watch these people on We Woke Now. This is what I'm saying when I say people will take any ally and take anything people say as long as it's a part of their message. Which, okay, that's what you're supposed to do, but if your message is racism, it's not going to get anywhere. On a page called We Woke Now, they sharing this dude who's obviously Jewish, and he's talking about the synagogue of Satan or something like that. So what he did was he mixed philosophy with the Kabbalah and the teachings from the Torah, and then talked about behemoths or Bephomets, something about transgenderism. He took the idea of science, philosophy, transgenderism, which is a whole nother, and religion, mixed it all together, and started accusing Americans of transgenderism. And said that there's a whole bunch of people that can't have kids because they're he, she's, and transgenders. And now that they're in some kind of matrix, blah, 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 blah. And they're creating transgenders to create LGBTQ. Just talking. LGBTQ means that you're into the same sex, I think. Transgenderism is a whole nother something else. It's when you want to be the opposite sex. So when I say transgenderism isn't natural, I'm saying you're trying to go outside of. So let's say a man goes to mess with another man. If you come up to me and say that's not natural, I will then go show you documentaries of lions and animals. Then I will show you where in your book the lion is referenced. But if that same lion ripped off his pee-pee and got a whole nother surgery and changed all his organs, that's different from homosexuality. That is a whole nother I'm not getting into that because I told you all before, I don't hate transsexuals. I don't advocate against them, but I advocate against the concept of transsexualism because you're skipping out on a whole portion of biology, chemistry, and medical science when dealing with that stuff. Not only that, it's an actual concept you learned. No child who goes from childhood to manhood says to himself outside of the concepts of reality that I want to become a woman now. Because he even has to know a woman to want to become one. And out of his own nature, out of the nature of animals, he's either going to accept her or reject her. If he rejects her, that means he's not sexually wanting her. So why would he want to be her? And if he accepts her, that means he's wanting to get it cracking naturally. So that's why I tell people I've worked around transsexuals. I call them their pronouns. I respect what they want. But at the same time, that's their world, their concept. So I'm respecting it to the best of my ability. So I might say don't harm transsexuals, but I'm not going to get up on a podium and advocate for them for 2 hours. There are levels to this, and that's just how I feel. So transsexuals can watch me and learn a whole bunch of stuff and be a part of groups and stuff. What I'm saying is you're not going to come to where I am and start teaching people to do that shit. So if you're that, I'll give an example. Do I go teach Caucasians to be African American? What does that mean? Because a Caucasian can't be African American. Because he's Caucasian American. Now, if he's into sagging hoodies, all this other stuff, is that African American? No, those are concepts. That's where we're getting confused. So, even me personally, I don't like the words black and white because it creates a racial construct that isn't real. Because I listen to people on the panel say that Africans are different than African Americans. And like, dude, people are like going out there, crash outs, man. Africans are Africans. So before American, I'm African. Then I can say I'm African American because I'm from and live in America. So if I was in Germany, I would be an African Germanican. If I was in the UK, I would be an African Britannican. If I was in Africa, I would be an African Ghanaian, African Kenyan, African Chinesian, African Japanian. You see what I'm saying? Even when people say Caucasian, they don't say Caucasian American, which is what they need to start saying, CA. Or you could say Caucarican. What I'm doing with these words, I'm not trying to insult Caucasians. If you guys watch my videos, I'm into poetry and transliterating languages and creating new all types of stuff. I just shared a video of a Caucasian American man, I believe he's American, talking about how the African American language, the African English, African Ebonics, is far complex than any other form of American Standard English. And what's even American Standard? Because we can't look at Caucasians and Hispanics and Asians and say that's English, because then we're putting a race on something. Standard English is just Standard English. Then if you speak Standard English and take it to create a new subsect of what they call Spanglish, maybe Asian English, African American English. Because it's not that I'm African, it's that I'm African American and now using my dialect. I could say Caucasian American English, dude, and all types of other words. I still use them, but it's from the Caucasian sect. So the words guy exist, but an African American might say my nigga. A Caucasian might say dude. Bro might be said by both. Nigga could be said by both, depending on the type of people you're around. Disclaimer. When Caucasians are around me, I don't give a fuck who get mad about what I'm about to say. I am transparent. When certain Caucasians are around me, when they say nigga, it doesn't bother me. Because how the fuck Kendrick Lamar did this, and I'm telling you all why there's division. Kendrick Lamar had a white girl come up on a Caucasian American woman come up on stage and start rapping his lyrics. Had her rapping word for word. She got to the word nigga and he threw her off stage, got mad and started cursing her. Are you a fucking idiot? What you want to do was you wanted to piggyback on the oppression of people who felt the pain of that word. Then, in the space and time you're in now, you're a rich fucking rapper. So what oppression are you still dealing with? Then, the people who are making you rich, because I could bring up the statistics, Caucasians buy rap. Caucasian people. Then, when they rap along to the king that they created, you get mad at them and say, oh, I'm oppressed. Boy, if you don't shut the fuck up, because with your music, you could enlighten the black community. But I'll use the word and I don't give a fuck because I'm African American. It's part of my community. We've been called it before. Kendrick Lamar's music is niggerish. So am I calling him the hard ER? No. Niggerish is a word, and I'm going to explain what that means in Ebonics. It's when you go above and fucking beyond to act like you're a part of the African American community, but are really a house nigga. The reason he's a house nigga is because he's rich. He's a corporation plant. I can get on here and talk about any community if they're harming us, but he can't. He'll lose his funding just like Kyrie Irving. That's where it stops. I'm only so hood until that money could get to it. So Kendrick Lamar, he had swimming pools full of liquor. He had some good little melodies. Then he started coming out, my niggas got shot, Compton, the hood, nigga. You're not helping the black community. Kendrick Lamar's for the black community, African American community. How? Are you rapping about science, technology, the real future? Really getting up out of the spot? You can't. Why? Because you're a house nigga. Kendrick Lamar, that's a French name. Ken from Akhenaten? Right. Damn near 4 nations worth of names mixed together, but have the nerve to talk about Caucasians who buy his music. Terrence Howard, love you, bro. But I keep warning you, be into what you're into, but stop going headstrong like you are a scientist. Because real scientists like Neil deGrasse Tyson will tell you his credentials and tell you he's not a physicist in the field of work in the sense that he is working on some collider. I'm going to bring up 3 types of scientists. You have scientists that educate people and teach them. That's more Bill Nye / Neil deGrasse. But at the same time, Neil deGrasse has wrote papers and have given great innovations in sciences and in the field of science. Then you have researchers and developers. These are basically people who mess with hypothesis a lot. They are in the field studying things, and they may never create anything new, but are continuing the field of study, helping. So they may find one little simple fucking shitty shit. But that one little shitty shit can be a spark for a future scientist to create the fucking speed of light, if that makes sense. I've said this before, and I'm not a scientist, I'm just giving ideas. If we could make people the size of, if there was a show called Honey, We Shrunk the Kids. If there was some way to get some type of energy to move with light particles, something so light that it moves with light particles, I'll give you an example. Something that is, and this is why this would take years of future study. But what I'm saying is, let's say we could either shrink things down to different sizes, relatively the whole body. So if you shrink my head, now my fucking blood cells and my cells in my brain aren't bulging out of my shrinking body. But what I'm saying is shrinking the entire relative body or source or whatever to a size where it can be pushed by photons. Or have something electromagnetic to where this would actually require construction where you build it. But once you build it, have a structure that can move with the electricity because of the amount of electricity used. Then, I'll give you an example. If when dealing with particles and wires, all you're really doing is vibrating energy going back and forth. So what I'm saying is, but you're creating a current. So the vibrating exists, but the current that's moving because of the vibrations is what causes the energy to be produced. So I'll give you an example. If you have if you have a copper wire, what's moving through the copper wire is the magnetic field. And so when energy is, we'll take like a photon or something. There's a field that's moving, and that particle is moving through the field, pew, at the speed of light, damn near. What's happening when that happens is all the fields, when that energy is moving through it, excites itself. It gets super excited. I'll give you an example. Look at water. You just take a puddle of water, nothing. But if you take your hand and start spinning in the water, all these ripples and all these waves will be created. That's basically what's happening with magnetic energy. You're sending energy through fields, and it moves at damn near the speed of light. So if you can have that type of system to where instead of moving electricity through wires, have some type of big, huge metal structure that's built throughout space, and then, but even when traveling in that structure, there's something else I talked about, the egg drop. When I was doing an egg drop in high school, we would try to figure out how to keep an egg from bursting from dropping it from the roof. And I learned something valuable that day. Many people use padding and all kind of stuff, but only a few eggs survived. One that I will never forget about was an egg in a glass jar full of water. I couldn't believe my fucking eyes. We all was mocking this man. Oh, you stupid mother! Your dad's dumb. He sent you to school with a glass of water and an egg. They got on that roof, threw a glass jar full of water with a egg inside. And when that glass jar shattered and hit the ground, it was one of the only eggs that didn't burst. And we looked fucking stupid. Do you know why that is? Water pressure. If that egg was to hit the ground at normal speed, the atomic molecules or the atomic nature of that egg will shatter because of the force of it hitting the ground and the bonds are breaking. But when something is in water or a fluidy substance, there's water pressure involved. And so if I was to move at the speed of light, I'm going to. But when there is equalized pressure inside the system like a lighter, then everything within isn't affected by the outside system. Now, it would have to be a careful vacuum because if you pay attention, if you shake a container, what's going to happen? The contents inside are going to move. But if you have a container that can move all around, but there's something on the inside of that container that's equalizing the pressure of all the movement, then you won't feel all the outside movement. That's just like if somebody was to take me in air and grab my body and start waving me all around, I would probably break a bunch of shit. But if you used to do that to me in water, there would be less movement because of the water pressure versus the air pressure. And so just a little bit of pre-science for the future. I'm not saying that I'm a scientist or know any. These are just theories from the conscious mind based on the world that I've perceived around myself. So yeah, just a couple of things to throw out there. I saw some people talking about, Terrence Howard was also talking about gravity and electricity. Well, he was talking about gravity and he made the fatal mistake. And I knew they was going to walk him this quarter. I'm getting sick of fucking tired of y'all putting Terrence Howard on fucking science shows and ignoring real scientists. You're going to piss me the fuck off. This shit ain't funny. So, they asked, because the reason why this pisses me off is because actual physicists and scientists haven't figured out gravity. And I have given a theory a while ago. But what do? They take Terrence Howard on a show and ask him how he feels about the theory of gravity, knowing they haven't fucking figured it out themselves, to make an ass of him. Because no scientist would do that. They know they haven't figured it out. And if they are asking him, it's because they're wanting to learn, not make an ass of him. Because he said electricity. And the man was like, that's not true. How can something not be true if you don't know the fuck yourself? So they're right. Electricity is not gravity. As I've explained before, you have a lot of different factors that all have to be weighed in. So I could just say, if I take this lighter and do this, that's fire. But I didn't tell the truth. There's all types of shit that is. Same thing when dealing with the institution of gravity. So whenever you're dealing with the energy source, like magnets, you have positive and negative. All things have a magnetic charge, depending on how small or how great. That magnetic charge either pulls things towards it or repels it based on the other object. So if you have a stable hydrogen trying to go, or I'm sorry, if you have a stable molecule and another stable molecule, they're not going to do anything. They're going to repel. But if they have different charges based on the atomic makeup of that element or atom, they'll pull together. Look at the Earth's gravity here. First of all, the Earth's core is two different forms of iron, solid and liquid. The two forms of iron scrape against each other and create that same excited field I was talking about when electricity travels through a wire, or when an element travels through a magnetic field. Well, not only are not only are the two irons interacting with each other, creating a bigger field around the Earth, the sun has the same thing. All stars and planets damn near have a magnetic field, no matter how small, even if we can't pick up on it. All things have a magnetic field. This remote control has a magnetic field. This pack of cigarettes has a magnetic field. I glow infrared if you use the right technology to see. I let off energy all the time, but I also intake energy. It's a balance. So, that's how atoms are held together. You have a positron and an electron, and the neutron in the middle that barely weighs anything, but it's still connected. If you look at up, up, down quarks and down, down, up quarks, technically, that's stable. And I've explained this in a couple of my science videos. Another example of that, look at gases. When a gas is in a concentrated area, it'll go from high to low in a different environment. So just like oxygen tanks and air tanks and lighters and stuff, when there's a breach in it, or air and tires, it all comes out because it's pressurized together. It doesn't want to be together. It's forced to be in pressure. Then when it's out of pressure, look at this. If it wasn't for the Earth's crust, we would go down to the core and just melt. But the Earth's crust is kind of like water pressure. It was already here first and is more compact and blocks us from going through it. Just like water. I watched an experiment one time. What's up? I thought I heard somebody in there. She might be. One time I was watching an experiment dealing with water pressure. And when dealing with water pressure, if there's too much water pressure, you can only go down so far. That's why certain oils and other things cannot go down after a certain point, because of its chemical makeup, its magnetic fields and all that other stuff dealing with charges, and also because of water pressure. If you use, I forget exactly what it's called, but if you have something that has a lot of gravity and you're like in air, it'll pull you all the way to the ground. But if you use that same thing in water, what'll end up happening is the water pressure will be so great that you can't push down on it anymore. The same thing can actually happen with air when you float. Too much air pressure and you go up. That's what actually happens to rain clouds and moisture, humidity. It begins to float. As it rises in temperature when it comes together, creating heat, it begins to float. As it floats, what it's doing is it's cooling down because it's away from the heat of the earth. And so technically, when you see clouds, that's kind of like floating ice in a sense, or floating ice vapor. Not exactly, but it is. And so just a couple of foods for thought.
Can I go to the bathroom?
Yeah, go ahead. Do you care if I hit your pen one time?
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. All right, so yeah, just giving off a little science. It's been about an hour or so. Research and learn for yourselves and understand and grow.